You know that feeling when you look at the calendar in May and your stomach drops because you know that summer is coming? The custody schedule is going to flip. The kids are going to be home for approximately 1,000 years. And the routine that you have worked so hard to build is going to get blown to smithereens. If that is you right now, this episode is for you.
I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, step-family life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this.
Welcome. Okay, so it is officially, I think, almost spring in Maine. And I know a lot of you listening have been deep into spring for a while, but here in Maine, we don't really get it until like late May, early June. We're kind of in mud season right now, but our daffodils are out. You're starting to see tulips in the store. Things are starting to bloom. I am planning my summer garden. We're getting our bees set up. They seem to have survived the overwintering, so fingers crossed we'll actually get some honey this year. But that's a whole different topic. And as I am thinking about spring and summer and puttering around in the garden, I see a lot of chatter online inside the Stepfamily circle over on Instagram. And stepmoms this time of year have all got a really similar energy. And it is this mix of like dread and overwhelm and how am I going to survive the next 3 months of summer? Because I get it. Summer in a stepfamily is its own thing. It is not like, yay, the kids are out of school. Although honestly, I don't know any parents that say that. But seriously, in a step family, I mean, we're talking about, renegotiated custody schedules, vacation drama, trying to figure out who's watching the kids when, who's paying for what camp, and how to deal with an ex who wants to suddenly change everything that you agreed to back in March. So today we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about why summer hits so much harder when you're a stepmom, the 3 biggest stressors that I see show up over and over, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it. You are not powerless in this season. Even when it feels like everything is happening to you, there are some real things that you can do to protect your peace this summer. And we're going to walk through them today. So let's get into it. All right. So I'm not going to pretend that bio moms and dads aren't also dealing with the chaos of kids being home during the summer, because they are. I seriously don't know anyone who gets excited about summertime because it just means a lot of kids around the house a lot more, and it can be really challenging. But here's why it hits different for us as stepmoms. When you're a stepmom, you have usually spent the school year building some semblance of a routine. You kind of know, for the most part, what days the kids are going to be with you. You have a morning rhythm for the most part. You know when you get to work out, when you get to actually talk to your partner without a kid interrupting you, when you get to just exist without the chaos. And then summer comes and all of that goes out the window. Maybe the custody schedule flips. A lot of families do 50-50 during the school year and then move into longer blocks in the summer, like a week on, week off, or 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, which sounds great in theory until you realize that you just lost half your peaceful evenings for 3 months, right? And then there's the mental load, because let me ask you, who in your house is the one thinking about summer camps? Who is keeping the spreadsheet of which kid is where on which week? Who is coordinating pickup times and vacation overlap? And if you said me, girl, you are not alone and you are not crazy for feeling slightly resentful about it, right? Research on stepfamily dynamics does show that stepmoms have a disproportionate amount of invisible labor and a disproportionate amount of depression compared to biological moms. It is not because we try to carry so much more. It's because we tend to be the planners, the organizers, the ones who cannot stand the chaos. And so we step in. And the other thing that nobody talks about is that outsider syndrome, which you guys have heard me talk about. You've heard me talk about stepmoms being stuck outsiders. It can spike hard in the summer. And this is that feeling, if you have not listened to me before or heard me talk about it, it is outsider syndrome, and being a stuck outsider is that feeling of being on the outside of your own family. Like everyone else in the family has this shared history and you're just kind of there on the outside watching, observing. And in the summer, when there's more family time, more vacations, more memory making moments, in theory, that's great, right? As a family, you're making more memories together. But that outsider feeling can get really loud. So if you are sitting there in May feeling some kind of way about the summer coming up, let me tell you, it is normal. It is so, so very normal. And we are going to talk about what to do about it. So when I talk to my clients and the women inside the Stepfamily Circle about summer, there are 3 things that come up over and over. So I want to break them down. So the first one is custody schedule changes. And we've mentioned that briefly. But this is a big one because the summer can look wildly different from the school year, right? So when you're having kids for 2 or 3 weeks straight, it's great for vacations, but it is a massive adjustment, right? And other families don't go into these major blocks. They have more frequent transitions because everybody wants their fair share of vacation time. So that can mean more pickups, more drop-offs, more communication with the eggs, more chances for conflict. And then the whole thing of negotiating vacation time. Most custody agreements give each parent, certain kind of earmarked times for vacation, whether it's holidays or whatever. But it can get messy when you want to take a family trip during a week that is technically supposed to be the ex's. What if the ex wants to take the kids on vacation during your week and is being real passive aggressive about it, right? If you're dealing with a high conflict ex, this is where things can blow up because summer is the time when there's a lot of boundary testing. The ex may suddenly decide they want to change the schedule, or they might forget, and I'm using big air quotes there, they might forget to communicate plans. They might use the kids as messengers about logistics. If this is you, know that you are seen, and we are going to talk about some strategies here in a minute. But the second stressor I want to talk about is the who's watching the kids problem. And this one's big, right? If you and your partner both work, when the kids are out of school, somebody has to be supervising them. And in step families, who does that fall to? Well, a lot of times it falls on you, right? Maybe your partner has a job that's not flexible. Maybe the ex has made it clear that they're not changing their work schedule for the kids. Maybe the kids are too old for camp, but too young to be left alone. So suddenly you are the default daycare, whether you signed up for it or not. And look, sometimes that works, right? Sometimes you love spending time with your stepkids and you have a flexible job and it's a great bonding opportunity. But sometimes it absolutely does not work. You may have your own job, your own commitments, your own life. And the assumption that you will step in and handle it is a recipe for resentment. And the other piece of this is the dreaded summer camp logistics, right? Summer camp is a whole different monster. Who's researching them? Who's researching the camps? Who's signing the kids up? Who's coordinating drop-off and pickup? Who's paying? In a lot of step families, a lot of that work falls to stepmoms because she's organized, or because her partner is overwhelmed, or because the ex won't participate in the planning. And it becomes this massive job that nobody really acknowledges, right? All right, the third stressor, vacation drama. Vacations, the thing that is supposed to be relaxing and is somehow not. Now, again, this is one of those things that I think biological parents probably also say that their vacations are not relaxing either, right? There's a lot that can come up here, but family trips with the stepkids, that's a whole different ballgame. Who's planning it? Who's paying for it? What's the dynamic going to be? And then trips without the stepkids, which can come with its own guilt, especially if you feel weird about going on vacation as just the adults when there are kids in the picture. And if your partner takes the kids on a trip without you, that can bring up all kinds of feelings too, especially if the ex is somehow involved in the planning or if there are pickup logistics that mean you're now coordinating around their family trip. The thing about vacations and a lot of this summer stuff, right, is that it tends to highlight whatever is already not working in your step family. If you already feel like an outsider, vacations are going to make it worse. If you already feel like the planner, vacations are going to make it worse. If you already feel like you're a mediator between your partner and their ex, vacations are, guess what? Gonna make it worse, right? So if you're headed into summer with a lot of vacation moving parts, just know it's gonna require some intentionality. And we are gonna talk about how. All right, we've gone through these hard things and I feel like I'm out of breath talking about all this because there's so much around summer, right? But let's talk now about what to do about it. And I want to start with something that I talk about all the time, both with my coaching clients and inside the Stepfamily Circle, because it is the foundation of everything else we're going to discuss. And if you've been with me for a while, you probably know exactly what I'm going to say. So let's start with, here's the question I want you to ask yourself. What is actually in my control? What is actually in my control? Because I think a lot of us, myself included, especially in the early years, spend so much energy trying to control things that we genuinely cannot control. We try to control how the ex behaves. We try to control how the kids respond to us. We try to control our partner's parenting decisions. We try to control how the summer is supposed to go. And all of that trying to control, worrying about these things that we can't control, it makes us miserable because so much of it is not actually ours to control. So what is in your control? Very little, right? Your boundaries, your participation level, how you spend your own time, how you communicate with your partner, what you say yes to and what you say no to, whether you take care of yourself, how you respond, not react to chaos. This is like an internal authority. Where do you have actual power and how are you going to use it? Because here is the truth. If you spend the whole summer trying to make your stepkids like you or, have some fun, amazing summer for them, or trying to fix the dynamic with the ex, or trying to control a custody schedule that is not actually yours to control, you are going to burn out hard. But if you spend the summer focused on what is yours, your peace, your boundaries, your routine, your relationship with your partner, you actually have a shot at not just surviving this season, but finding joy. So as we go through the rest of these strategies, I want you to keep that frame in mind. What can I actually control here? And what do I need to let go of, right? All right, so let's get tactical. There are 4 things you can do starting today to set yourself up for a summer that doesn't wreck you, right? It's a low bar, a summer that doesn't wreck you. Hopefully you'll actually have a great summer, but let's go through these 4 steps. All right, the first one is have the conversation with your partner. And I mean right now. As I'm recording this, it is the end of May. Don't have this conversation in July when you are in the middle of all the chaos. Have it right now. Sit down with your partner and have a real conversation about what summer is going to look like. I don't mean a 5-minute conversation in the kitchen while kids are running around. I mean a real dedicated sit down at the table conversation. So here's what to cover. This is easy. Get your pen and paper out, right? What is the custody schedule? Who's responsible for what? What activities are the kids in? Who is doing pickup and drop off? What vacations are you taking and when? Are you taking trips as a couple this summer or is it all family time? What's the budget for camps and at other activities? And here's the part nobody talks about. What is your role in all this? Because I will tell you, a lot of stepmoms assume their role is one thing and their partner assumes that it is something very different. And that mismatch creates a lot of resentment. So get clear, get on the same page. Are you going to be the default summer parent? That's okay if you're both on the same page with it, right? Are you helping with logistics but not directly caregiving? Are you stepping back this summer because you need a break? Whatever that is, get it on the table, right? And if you're worried about even starting the conversation, here is something you can say. I'm going to script you right now. Tell your partner, hey, I love our family. I want this summer to go well for all of us. I'm excited about this summer together. But can we sit down this weekend and actually plan it out together? Because I want to make sure we're on the same page before things get crazy. That's it. No drama, no accusations, just an invitation to sit down and plan together. And I get it. A lot of our spouses are not planners. We may be more planners than they are, but talk to them about why you need to plan before things get crazy, right? All right, step 2, build in your non-negotiables. So this is something I see stepmoms do every summer. And frankly, I see a lot of moms doing it too. They throw out their entire routine because the kids are home and things are different. No, just no, period, full stop. Your routine does not have to disappear because school is out. The chaos of summer is actually why you need your non-negotiables more than ever. So I want you to think about 2 or 3 things that are non-negotiable for you this summer. These are the things you're going to do no matter what, right? Is it a morning walk, having coffee on the porch? Those 2 things happen no matter what's going on. Kids in the house, no kids in the house. Vacation, no vacation. That's your time. It might be your workout. It might be a weekly therapy session, which I always suggest. It may be a Wednesday night girls' dinner or a half hour of reading before bed. Whatever it is, write it down and protect that time. Your non-negotiables, I want to remind you of this. Your non-negotiables are not selfish. They are what keep you sane, present, and I don't know, maybe like a decent human being. The version of you that is completely depleted, that doesn't have this time for herself, is not actually helpful to anyone. Not your partner, not the kids, not yourself, right? Okay, step 3, get some communication scripts in your back pocket. So much of what we've talked about so far and so much of summer drama comes down to communication. Hard conversations with your partner, tense exchanges with the ex, trying to set limits with stepkids who don't want to be told no. So let's talk about a few scripts. And again, get your pen and paper out if you want, because I'm going to give you some things you can say. When you need to set a limit with your partner about your role this summer, you can say something like, hey, I really want to support our family, but I need to be honest about what I can and can't take on. So I'm not going to be able to be the default summer parent. Can we figure out a plan together? When you need to respond to the ex, or when your partner needs to respond to the ex, which is really how that ought to go, about a schedule change or logistics or whatever. We've talked about this here before, but remember Biff: brief, informative, friendly, firm. You are not writing a novel. You're not justifying yourself. You're keeping it short and you're keeping the door open. So if the ex sends some passive-aggressive text about the summer schedule, you, or better yet, your partner, doesn't need to respond with a 3-paragraph explanation. You can respond with something like, thanks for letting us know. We'll plan to pick the kids up on the 15th as agreed. Looking forward to a great summer for everyone. Done. Move on. And when you need to say no to something, a request to watch the kids on a day that doesn't work, a vacation you don't want to go on, you don't need to over-explain. All you need to say is, that's not going to work for me this summer, but I appreciate you thinking of me, period. Over-explaining, and maybe you want to be less formal than that, right? But over-explaining is where we get into trouble. The shorter the no, the more powerful it is. It doesn't have to be a jerky no, but it can be a no. All right, step 4, reframe the season. This one is more of a mindset shift, but I think that it might be the most important, because I want you to stop trying to make the summer perfect. Just stop. Because here's what I see happen. Stepmoms put so much pressure on themselves to make the summer amazing, to make the trips magical and make the long days fun, to bond with the stepkids, to not fight with their partner, to not have any conflict with the ex. That's a lot of pressure. And then when reality doesn't match that fantasy, they feel like a failure. What if instead of putting all that pressure on yourself to be perfect, what if you aimed for bearable or even just pretty good? I have a mug that my dear friend Jessica Frew gave me that says the world's okayest stepmom. And I love that, because so much of stepmom life is putting unreasonable pressure on ourselves. Like, what if we just said, we're going to make it pretty good, right? What if the goal for the summer isn't to have this Instagram-worthy summer, but it's to keep your peace and protect your relationships and maybe have some moments of actual joy? I will tell you that every summer, every holiday, every party that I have tried to make perfect as a stepmom and not, were usually when I was the most miserable. When I let go of what I think something should look like and just try to be present and well-rested, that's when I usually enjoy myself the most. So what if this summer you just gave yourself permission to just get through it with your boundaries intact, your sanity and your relationship intact? That to me is a big win, right? All right. Before we wrap up, I want to say one more thing. If you have been listening to this episode and nodding along, and you're also someone who has thought about helping other stepmoms navigate this stuff, I want to plant a seed, because summer is when a lot of stepmoms hit their breaking point. They search for help. They find podcasts like mine. They look for coaches. They look for community. And there are not enough trained, qualified stepfamily coaches out there to meet the demand. There are just not. So if you have ever wondered if your experience could help somebody else, or If you could turn all of this hard-won wisdom into something meaningful, I would ask you to pay attention to that poll. We are going to talk more about it here on the podcast and over on the Stepfamily Unfiltered YouTube channel. But I just want you to know that if that's something you've ever thought about, the world needs you. And if you're curious, you can head to stepfamilycertification.com to learn more about the Stepfamily Coach Academy. No pressure, just info. All right, let's recap. Summer in a stepfamily is hard. It is its own beast. It's a lot. But you are not powerless in this. You actually have a lot more control than you think you have. Not over the eggs, not over the kids, not over the schedule, but over your boundaries, your communication, your mindset. So have the hard conversation with your partner. Build in your non-negotiables, get those communication scripts ready, and give yourself permission to aim for bearable instead of perfect. Or pretty good. How about that? You've got this. You really do. You really do. So thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode hit home for you, do me a favor. Share it with a stepmom friend who needs to hear it. Or even better, head over to wherever you're listening and leave me a quick review. Those reviews help other stepmoms find this show, which means that they find the support they desperately need. I will be back in your ears next week. And remember, you have got this. If this episode spoke to you or touched your heart, would you do me a favor? Take 10 seconds to go and follow the show, leave us a 5-star review, and share this episode with another stepmom who might need to hear it. Your support is going to help grow our blended family community, and you never know whose life you might change.